I'm Manuel Madeddu, and this is SEO in 2025.
And what's your number one SEO tip for 2025?
Yeah, well, I would say use AI and don't be used by it.
Use AI and don't be used by it, okay? Shall we start with being used by it? What's an example of being used by AI?
Yeah, essentially, there is a lot of stress of the use of AI to generate content, meaning text generation. But for SEO, initially, that meant a lot of people thought, you can use AI to just generate magic content that will solve all the issues, like, suddenly making a site rank higher for what you are trying to achieve and build. Whether it's not like that, because it's also quite risky. So if rather use AI, so make the good use AI, so understanding the tools and the benefits and the limitation, the risk, to then embed AI as part of a process. So you need to build the right ecosystem and making sure also you have human validation to ensure the content aligns, with the brand voice, you fact check the content, you also provide accuracy, accurate text and content.
So what AI should SEOs be using?
Yeah, again, it's about using AI as part of a process. So you can train, the models or language models to then the model understand your brand. For example, you can train the model for the model to know the brand voice, competitors, the business goals, to then create something that aligns with what you're trying to achieve. It's usually time consuming for an SEO. Usually you spend a lot of time to do all the analysis up front, whether you can, spend time to train the model, but then also you can generate, content at scale, because you train the model once and then it's there. So the model, it works like as if it's an intern, knowing the business already, and start creating the content at scale, but using also consistency.
Do you have any preferred model that you're using at the moment?
Well, I've been testing, you wonder, but ChatGPT, all the models. I'll be starting myself testing 3.5 back in the day. It's like one year that I'm testing models of the models, and Gemini 1.5 now. But I would say the best model nowadays I'm using in terms of, language adaptance, accuracy, translations, and also human fluency when you generate content. For what I see, given you input the key research, you do all your analysis up front, you provide all the inputs to the model, and then you get the output. I would say the best one so far I've been using is ChatGPT 4.0, so the latest model of ChatGPT OpenAI.
Okay, and it would be good to get a flavor of how you actually integrate it into your processes. So do you do a lot of work outside ChatGPT initially to do the research that you have to do prior to actually getting it to hopefully come up with some content for you, if that's what you do?
Yeah, so I mean, I've been working on a project for the Brighton SEO. I don't know if you saw online, but essentially I built an entire site, by using ChatGPT, not only text generation, but also images, videos, blah, blah, blah. So I've been, doing all the nitty gritty. So all the analysis up front in terms of keyword search, keyword tagging, understanding, user intent and what the user was searching for. So all the analysis up front. And then I've been inputting everything in the prompt. So via the prompts, I've been instructing ChatGPT via multiple prompts, not just one, but say with the first prompt, I was passing information regarding tone of voice, then, business goals, then key research, and then asking to provide like a content outline, like a draft, and then expanding all the section. Nowadays, I'm automating all of that. So essentially, at Publicis, I work at Publicis now, but we are creating tools where essentially we provide all contextual information up front that will be stored. So we train the model, and the model knows about, your business goals and tone of voice and so on. So you don't need to retrain. And then each time you pass all the keywords and the specific inputs you require for the specific output, and then you can adapt, the output for you to require. But essentially, you've got a user interface. So you train the model once, but then when you need to regenerate the content, you've got a user interface, and you just upload or put through the keywords you need to generate the content for, the links, for example, or the FAQs, and then it generates content for you.
Are you still having challenges with hallucinations?
Yes, a lot. That's why sometimes also there are specific words that are recurrent. So it's key that you set up your process. You allocate time for humans to review, because there may be some words that are always there and doesn't really make sense. In terms of fact checking, yes, you have hallucinations sometimes. So sometimes ChatGPT provides examples or fact that doesn't make sense for what you're trying to generate and obtain. So yeah, it's key.
So does this mean that you don't use ChatGPT for certain industries or certain brands that are a little bit more protective of ensuring that the content that they have on their site is obviously 100% legitimate?
Yeah, you need to be careful. Going back to our first question, so you need to know the limitation of the model and the risks. So one is security. So you may have some specific niches where security, it's paramount. So for example, if you work in medical, in a medical business or legal, then you must be sure, you don't share.
So security as in if you share any information from the client in order to actually generate content, then you're concerned that ChatGPT could actually be taking that information and then maybe publishing it elsewhere. Yeah.
Exactly. I've been working with or following some conversation about, for example, there was an article back in the day, like a year and a half ago, about JP Morgan, banning the use of ChatGPT also for internal employee, or in general, they were banning ChatGPT or AI models because there was a real concern about feeding all the information to the open API. So essentially you were feeding and trained the model, but that information was potentially shared and stored no one knew where. So the way we are sorting this now is having sandbox. So essentially we are building private environments where the information stays there. So we don't use the public open API, but we just set up, a private environment where the information is shared, but there. The model can still learn, but it's been more secure.
Got you. Okay. And that can be done using ChatGPT?
Yes. So you can, we're having a partnership with ChatGPT, with OpenAI, so they can set up like a private API, or you can set up a private environment anyway, like a sandbox, where you just share the information there, the information stay there, the model can still learn, based on what you share. You can train the model, but then it's not publicly shared. Plus, ChatGPT themselves, they say the new models, for example, ChatGPT 4o, is more secure, less information is shared openly, and then they don't share like very sensible information. You can train the model, but sensible information is not shared publicly. This is what they say, but when you work with big firms and big businesses, I mean, there is a bit of...
You have to be doubly careful.
Yeah, exactly.
So these private environments that you're talking about in relation to ChatGPT, is that available for anyone to sign up for, or is that just big brands and partnerships that is available for at the moment?
Well, if you have a partnership, you can discuss directly with them. So you can ask them to set stuff for you. This is what we do. But also, you can find online, there are some guidance where you can build your private instance of ChatGPT. If you have the plus model, so you pay for using ChatGPT, then you can create like a private instance of it. It will be inside ChatGPT. It won't share the information publicly, but then you can still build and train this for you. But then if you have a partnership, it's on a bigger scale. So you can have a private API and build a bigger environment. But this is for like bigger, very, very big clients.
So what's best practice to be as efficient as possible with the use of ChatGPT in terms of feeding it with information, but also actually taking the content that is produced and perhaps having some kind of automated way of publishing it on a website? Is that something worthwhile doing, or is it better practice to have actually manual checks throughout?
It is always best practice to have manual checks, yes. But I would say that the optimal process would be try to spend more time at the beginning to refine the process. So meaning spend more time with the client or, regarding what you need to build to understand how you need to train the model and the requirements, then train the model, then start to developing, the tool, if it's a tool, or the prompt. So it'll be a big time spent on prompt engineering. So you need to understand, how to perfection the prompt and,
So what are one or two examples of prompts that are essential from your perspective to include?
In this case would be, again, for the project I've been working, the tool we are building, it's never one prompt, because from what I saw, with one prompt, you have a bad output, put simply.
So you're better off with shorter prompts rather than actually one long prompt.
Yes, in a way, also because you also cut the tokens. So essentially, shorter prompts means less costs involved, because ChatGPT charge you based on the tokens, and the tokens are pretty much the number of words in your prompt, just put simply. So the shorter prompt, if you can, so the shorter the better, but it means cheaper and also more efficient and more consistent in terms of output. But if you use one long prompt, then the output potentially is not consistent, is not very accurate. You can have a lot of hallucination. If you split the process by having multiple prompts, I would say the first 2 or 3 prompts are to train the model. So you can, essentially dictate, you can specify which tone of voice you want in the output. Then you can specify business goal, targets, also the role of the model. For example, I usually start, the prompt with, act an SEO specialist, or a copywriter. This is key also. But then, say, after you train the model with the first 2 or 3 prompts, then it's also key because you can also see in the log, you can see what's the out. So if you do it manually, of course, you have the reply of ChatGPT. So you can see straight away if you go in the right direction. If you automate, it's key that you log the answers automatically from ChatGPT so that you can review if the prompt is going the right direction. But after you do that, then you pass the specific information. So for example, keywords, we are discussing SEO here. So keywords, FAQs, the intent, the relevant pages, the link you want to add, and all of this. If you do, again, all of this in one prompt, it'll be a mess and not consistent. If you build a process as efficient as possible and the prompts are essentially perfection engineered, then you work on efficiency, cost efficiency, but also consistency of the output. Then it's not magic, but you still have to review.
Okay. And sorry, just before you review the consistency of the output, what are you looking for in terms of output? Is there any word count that you're looking for example, or any particular format that you're looking for?
Yes, exactly. So essentially in the input, so when we pass the information to the model, we specify the type of output we want. So if you want to generate content for Facebook, we don't want like something extensive. We want like, 100 words or shorter or whatever. And then yes, the word count. So if you want to write an article rather than a recipe, rather than a product description, the word count is key. The language or also the audience. For example, if the language is English, but then the audience is Australian rather than British, rather than American, the output changes. If you use, again, one prompt or an old model, you don't have consistency. You might see, hallucination or big mistakes. Even if you specify, 1,000 words as an output, it might go lower or higher, not following your prompt. If you split it and use the latest model, then it's way more accurate.
And I cut you off when you were talking about reviews. So you have a review process for the content that's produced. What do you tend to be looking for in that review process?
A bit of it. I mean, here, because we are discussing SEO output and also, content to be generated for specific platforms or social media, then it should be, for example, quality of the content. So human readable, it's SEO optimized, also fact checking. Is it accurate? Is it suffering hallucination? Then it's well written. It's got a lot of repetition. And then is it including what we're specifying? So is the word count correct? Is including links? So all of this. And then we put together, so based on the different elements we're checking, a score. But it's key because, essentially you develop the tool, you plan a review to rate engineer the prompts. Once you reach a good point, then you can proceed with the development of the tool. And if you're lucky, most likely, the tool will be providing a good output going forward. But then human review, so you should be the tool that also always include a human edit to be fed to the model for the model to learn going forward.
If an SEO is struggling for time, what should they stop doing right now so they can spend more time using AI more effectively in 2025?
Yeah, because we are discussing AI, discussion, but I would say, SEOs tend to spend a lot of time to try to understand how to build their own tool, whether now, the technology is evolving fast. So out there on a weekly basis, even, you find more and more tools. So instead of trying to find the best way for you to understand how to use a tool or build a tool, just look out there. So be aware of what's the problem you're trying to solve, and see if there is a solution out there, and then use just the tool, that are existing out there.
Manuel Madeddu is Account Director at Publicis, and you can find him over at zerodewdesign.co.uk. Manu, thanks so much for being part of SEO in 2025.
Thank you.
I've been your host, David Bain. Get your copy of SEO in 2025, the book, over at SEOin2025.com.